Preseason week 1 is in the books, and we have 10 players that are skyrocketing up our fantasy football rankings. Danny, we had a bunch of games. We saw some usage. We saw some guys make some plays. We saw some guys get injured. There's a lot to talk about, but let's get it kicked off. Who is the first player that is skyrocketing up your rankings?
Yeah, and if you're watching the Island games, I believe this was either on Thursday or Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we headed over to the Patriots versus the Commanders, and we saw his first touch in the NFL preseason. Treveyon Henderson take a ball back 100 yards to the house. And on top of that, again, yes, while the snaps were relatively split evenly between him and Ramondre Stevenson, we do see what Treveyon Henderson was able to do on those snaps. A 75% route share on those snaps, 60% of the targets, 50% targets per route run. Again, Treveyon Henderson was never a sole, week 1 workload. He's going to enter my lineup. He's going to be my RB12 in week 1. Like, that is not the thesis for why you were drafting Treveyon Henderson. Why you were drafting Treveyon Henderson is that we saw the explosiveness on display on that return. We saw the receiving ability on display in the offense. Again, first team snaps with Drake May. We saw him catch the ball in the backfield, run some people over, showing that contact balance. Under Josh McDaniels, do you guys not forget, we had a James White year where he was a top 12 running back in fantasy with sub 500 rushing yards. The main alert, again, Ramondre will get touches, especially early on. The main alert for Treveyon Henderson is the Christian McCaffrey rookie route, is potentially that Jahmyr Gibbs rookie route, where maybe he doesn't touch the ball on the ground 225, 250 times, but if the upside is 175 touches in the carry game and 75 plus targets out of the backfield, I think we saw the upside as to why he can thrive in that role just based off that preseason game alone.
Yeah, and if you trust yourself and your drafting ability to take a 5th or a 6th round shot on Treveyon Henderson, you can make up that ground later in your draft, either with wide receiver help if he's a flex for you, or different running backs. Maybe you take an Etienne, you take Tyrone Tracy, you take somebody later who's going to be a little bit more of an early season appeal type of play. So yeah, I also moved Treveyon Henderson up. I think I had him RB20 before the week, and now I have him RB18, and he's in a tier with Alvin Kamara, Isaiah Pacheco, Chuba Hubbard, guys that I feel pretty confident in their workloads, because yeah, week 1 to 4, probably not going to be the same level of workload for comparably for Treveyon Henderson. But as Drake May gets better, they don't have a whole lot of target competition around Diggs and Kyle Williams and those type of guys. Like, Treveyon Henderson could very well be second on this team in targets.
Yeah, and I ended up moving up to RB15 as well. And this whole cluster of running backs I just think is very strong. I mean, 12 through 17 right now, Marion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, Treveyon Henderson, Kyren Williams, James Cook, all guys that I think should be gone by, at worst, the mid-4th round at this point. Like, if you're still getting Treveyon Henderson in your league anywhere past the 5th round, I think it's going to end up being one of the steals of the draft.
Yeah, one of the premier dead zone backs in Treveyon Henderson. A lot of those guys are dead zone backs that I actually really like, as I detailed in yesterday's video. Speaking of dead zone running backs, I got Kyren Williams here, who's heading it up my rankings. All the fuss about the team wanting to move on from Kyren after the year, and they go out and re-sign him for another 3 seasons to a modest contract. It wasn't like huge money or anything like that, but one of the single best workloads in the NFL. I mean, we thought Blake Corum was going to be a major part of the backfield last year. And then Kyren Williams had 356 opportunities and proved again that he's one of the biggest workhorses in the NFL. There's not really anything I can say differently aside from the contract gives me so much more confidence in the player in actually selecting the draft button on him, because it's clear to me by that contract and what we saw in the preseason was that no members of the first team offense played at wide receiver, at tight end, at quarterback, at offensive line. And Hunter and Corum are both out there getting reps because they're young running backs. The team doesn't really trust them at this point in time. Kyren Williams is the starting running back of this team. And as far as like how his, extension is divvied up, it's very clear that over the next 1 to 2 years, he's still going to be 70, 80% of the team's opportunities. And that's factoring in that he was like 85, 90% of the opportunities the last 2 years.
Yeah, and as a known Kyren hater, he had to go up in my rankings because my thesis was, okay, he'd lose some work with a running back that is more dynamic, that can pair with him more as a complement. But it was clear based off that first preseason game initially, again, week 1, week 2, week 3, it is going to be all Kyren. Now, maybe later in the season, Jarquez Hunter can earn more playing time. But if you're drafting, especially now, you can get a guy that come week 1, come week 2, come week 3, I would be shocked if we're not talking about Kyren being a 21, 22, 23 opportunity per game back and an offense we believe in. Again, assuming that Matthew Stafford's back is fully healthy, Kyren Williams, if you want to take him at the end of the third round, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, and when it comes to like running back tier list videos during the season, I have a hard time thinking he'll be much lower than where I have him ranked right now, which is RB 15. I can't imagine when I'm doing my weekly RB tier list and the Rams offense projects for 50 points every single week or whatever, that I go through and I see Kyren Williams not inside my top 12, given the schedule that they have as well.
Different player archetype, but has he just become like the new Joe Mixon for us?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's absolutely the new Joe Mixon. I actually had been drafting him. I have him 9% of my fantasy teams on Underdog. So it's not like I wasn't drafting him. I just wasn't really in on home league formats because he was a little bit higher of a pick, like an early third, mid third rounder. But if you can get him anywhere near the like mid to late third round right now, I do think that is definitely a very fine value, especially if you start like wide receiver, and you want to bank up some touches with Kyren. You could probably sell high on him after like week 3, week 4, try and tier up to a better running back or whatever. So who do you got as your second guy skyrocketing up your rankings?
Yeah, my second guy skyrocketing up my rankings. I know Arthur is beaming ear to ear, laughing, saying, "Oh my God, I've been telling you guys all off season." But RJ Harvey has to be a winner off of what we saw in preseason week 1 in terms of the split between him and J.K. Dobbins. We saw RJ Harvey, listed number 5 on the depth chart. Well, guess what? When it came time to playing with the first team offense, 67% of the snaps, 100% of the rushing attempts, and 45% of the routes en route to 20% of the targets. So I get it. Like, it wasn't the most efficient that we've ever seen, but at the same time, you have to acknowledge that a lot of backups were on the field. He's a rookie. He's going to continually get better because when you just look at the nuts and bolts of the situation, this is a Sean Payton running back who we have seen time and time again hyper target the running back position. Oh, by the way, RJ Harvey, nice receiving skill set out of the backfield. And on top of that, he will be playing behind one of the top 3 to 5 offensive lines in the league and what projects to be, a top 10, top 12 level offense with the Broncos. So yeah, there's apparently a rumor that J.K. Dobbins, forgot his helmet or couldn't find his helmet, which led to RJ Harvey getting the majority of those snaps. But this is something to monitor, preseason week 2, preseason week 3. If RJ Harvey keeps getting this amount of snaps, I think you can comfortably project him as a mid to back in RB2 from day 1. And if that's the case, you still get the rookie upside appeal. Maybe come week 10, week 11, this is a guy you're ranking in the top 12 to 15 of your running back ranking. So for me, I raised him. He's a guy that I'd be willing to select, at the early 60s portion of my draft. And I think that's an attainable price for a guy that does have a lot of upside in this offensive scheme.
Yeah, I had him RB25 before this. I moved him up to RB23. I would like to see it again, personally. As a guy who is obviously very J.K. Dobbins pilled, I do think that Dobbins might flip the script a little bit in preseason week 2, and Sean Payton might keep us all guessing. So I'm not going to skyrocket him like crazy, but I did move him up like 2 spots ahead of Caleb Johnson and Brian Robinson. But for the most part, I'm still relatively bearish as far as when I would draft him. I think I would want to get him as like a late 6th, early 7th round pick kind of area, as opposed to like the mid to late 5th, early 6th, where he's currently going.
Like, where do you have him ranked right now overall?
Overall, he is my 71st overall player. So I'm talking more in that 6th round territory is where I'd be comfortable taking him.
So I'm about like a round higher right now. Again, I'm a little bit more bearish on J.K. Dobbins than you, but I do agree the general thought is this is going to be a committee. Although with what we saw from preseason week 1, if that's more of a 60-40 RJ Harvey, 65-35 RJ Harvey, I do think we have to be treating him as a mid RB2.
Yeah, no, I'll move him up if we see it again for sure. Travis Etienne is the guy that I have skyrocketing up my rankings right now. I don't know about you, but I just feel quite bearish about Byshell Tootin in general. I haven't heard enough. I want to see a 4th round rookie. He's
solely a stash right now.
Yeah, he's solely a stash. He's kind of like Trey Benson territory from last year, where it's like, hey, he's probably not going to have the greatest rookie season in the world. Him and Cam Scatterbo both. Like it's very clear that the guys ahead of him are probably going to start. And Etienne, if it's Etienne and Bigsby, which it probably will be at the beginning of the season, especially, Etienne handled 100% of the snaps with Trevor Lawrence, had the full workload, one drive that the first team offense played. And of course, Travis Etienne has finished as an RB1 before. So he's a running back in his prime kind of archetype, which, as I've talked about in those other videos, is some of the guys that you want to bet on. And a bounce back from Etienne would not be outrageous given the new scheme, the more decisive running style that he can have with Liam Cohen's offense if the offensive line improves. 12 snaps, ran 7 of the 8 routes. It's not clear if he's going to be relied upon as the early down guy or as the goal line guy, because Bigsby obviously is probably going to factor in that role. But I do think that Travis Etienne might get like the most important touches, which is like the receiving work. And I wouldn't go crazy drafting him like round 6 all of a sudden, but I do think in the 8th round, if you missed out on an RB3 or you missed out on even on an RB2 potentially, and you ran like a hero RB, Travis Etienne makes a lot of sense at that point in time, because I don't think it's very often that you get running backs under the age of 27 that have finished as RB1s in fantasy before, tethered to offenses that both of us really think could end up being breakout units of 2025. Like, tell me the last time, Danny, we got an RB1 who's finished multi-time RB1 before, or a high-end RB1 when he was at his best in 2023, who's on potentially one of the best 15 offenses in football at this great of a discount.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen it in a while. Again, I understand the concerns. His metrics as a pure runner in these last couple of years has dipped dramatically. However, we are buying in on Liam Cohn. We know that RB efficiency isn't sticky. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially if he's already making strides. He's already earning those snaps. And like you said, a lot of receiving work. Ran 7 of the team's 8 routes. We are very high on this passing game as a whole. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, they're going to eat. But Travis Etienne, why can't he be a 4 or 5 target game back? Especially because we've seen him command targets in the past.
Yeah, especially if BTJ's stretching the field out, Hunter's doing his thing over the middle. I think there's going to be a lot of space. And the way Liam Cohn drew it up in Tampa Bay was that the running backs were working with a lot more space than I had seen as a Buccaneers fan for the prior 3 years before that.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, who just averaged like 3.6 yards per carry and was an RB1 in fantasy for Tampa 2 years ago?
Rachaad White. And I do think that you saw a good example of what it looks like when you're inefficient and you become efficient is Rachaad White's 2023 season, where he was super inefficient, to Rachaad White's 2024 season, where before Bucky Irving took over the workload because he's the better running back, Rachaad White looked a lot better on the ground.
Yeah, 100%. I can see if we get Travis Etienne back in terms of that efficiency. Again, I'm not saying he's going to go back to being like a 5 yards per carry type of player, but if you're closer, more so to a 4.5, 4.6 yards per carry, given the scheme bump here, you're looking at a guy that we really want in an offense that we believe in. So like that call with Travis Etienne, he is up in my rankings as well. My third winner here. And so the way I categorized it is the first 2 that I talked about are, the rookie winners that showed out in terms of their usage. These next 3 guys are more so injury winners, but the first guy also tends to be a rookie here with Matthew Golden out of the Green Bay Packers. And we actually have this tweet from Adam Levitan, the updated Packers wide receiver room. As you guys can see there, he is like one of the last people standing, him and Romeo Doubs, sprained foot. Obviously, Jaden Reed in a boot right now. He has Dontavion Wicks, can't catch. Treveyon Williams is a round 3 rookie who we were both a little bit lower on, bearish on compared to where he went in the NFL draft. We thought he was more so a day 3 level talent. And then Christian Watson is probably going to miss the whole year with that ACL. I believe it was actually a compound injury, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he'll miss the whole year, but he'll probably miss at least 4 to 8 games, I would imagine.
A good chunk, and by then you're betting on the round 1 rookie wide receiver to really establish himself. And on top of that, the biggest appeal here is that he played 100% of the snaps with the first team offense, and Jordan Love has been praising him all offseason. Anytime that Jordan Love has had an opportunity to talk about Matthew Golden, it has shed a positive light on how developed, how mature he is right off the bat. And on top of that, again, this is an ambiguous wide receiver core, so betting on a guy that is a 3-level separator attached to a quarterback that we believe in that wants to stretch the field. Realistically, to me, the biggest winner for Jaden Reed being out would be Matthew Golden, because I do think if Golden can work into both 2 and 3 wide receiver sets, there even is the opportunity to play him inside out if Reed's banged up going into week 1. And there's actually been a quote that came out today about Matt LaFleur that he is hopeful that Jaden Reed comes out week 1. That's not really what you want to hear. You want to hear, oh yeah, Jaden Reed's fine. He's day to day. He's going to be good for week 1. But him saying hopeful, like that turns to questionable within a week.
I got so many bags of Jaden Reed, man. It sucks. It really sucks. Golden, I was drafting a decent amount too. And I actually I drafted a shit ton of Romeo Doubs. So I'm kind of low-key happy about that because I thought he was like a half decent value where he was going. But yeah, it's good for everybody involved. Golden is the highest upside of this group because he's the 3-level separator, the first round rookie. He does you squint. It looks a lot like Ladd looked like last year in the 7th, 8th round, 9th round where Ladd McConkey was going on home league platforms. It was the basis was the same. It was, hey, he could be the number 1 receiver for Justin Herbert. It's like, well, this guy could be the number 1 receiver for Jordan Love. And also their prospect profiles were quite similar too, in that they were both film guys.
Yeah, and it's funny because, we both thought Matthew Golden, route runner, separator, he checked every box that you wanted. And like Ladd McConkey, wasn't the biggest producer in college. And funny enough, they were both SEC schools that advanced quite far in the college football playoff.
Yeah. I think this could be the Ladd reroll that some people maybe be looking for here. So if you got a chance to grab him as the 4th, 5th receiver on your roster, I think Golden's a great pick where he's going.
Another reason why he's the winner after preseason week 1 is because we just saw how good Quinn Ewers was at the NFL level.
Yeah, he stinks. He absolutely stinks. Tyrone Tracy is another guy that I kind of made reference to. Very similar case to Travis Etienne, where Devin Singletary was on the field for some reason, but that honestly, I don't know if they're trying to trade him or whatever the case is, but Tracy was the guy out there first. and he was taken out. He was like on the field for the first like 4 or 5 snaps, and then they took him out. So maybe they were just like, hey, Tracy, he already beat him out. He did this last year. He already beat out Devin Singletary. Singletary isn't good. And the offense is obviously a huge question mark because we don't know how good Russell Wilson is. But I was impressed with the way Jackson Dart played. And if Jackson Dart gets on the field sooner rather than later, just because he's playing really well, that would actually boost the ceiling of this offense for sure, because we kind of know what Russell Wilson is at this point. But if Dart's kind of nipping at his heels and playing really well, and this team probably not going to win a whole lot of games too. So if Russell Wilson, even if he's playing okay and Dart is playing really well in practice, they might turn to the rookie. And if he has, a breakout season, that could improve the offense. The main thing that I liked about Tyrone Tracy is that he is a 3-level running back. He can be used in the screen game. He can be used as a receiver. He has big play upside, all that kind of stuff. And we heard ESPN's Jordan Rodon come out and say, somebody asked him like, hey, when Scottaboo comes back, is this like a running back competition? He's like, no, like Tracy's the clear lead back here.
Yeah, and it's funny because we have been hearing those reports that Scottaboo's filling in when Tracy needs a breather, or Scottaboo is fighting for reps behind Tracy.
Well, he's also missing all this time as a rookie who's hurt right now.
Well, exactly. So it was funny because the fantasy lens is like, oh, Scottaboo, 4th-round rookie. We like his prospect profile. But everything we have been hearing from the team is like, no. Like, it's Tyrone Tracy. He's our 3-down back. And it's like Singletary and Scottaboo and all these other guys, they're going to be fighting for touches behind him.
Yeah, him and Tootin are very similar at this point in time, where it's like, yeah, I kind of feel good about both of them from like a dynasty perspective still, but it wouldn't shock me if their value takes a dip, especially from a redraft lens. You're not able to use them at all. They're just stashes for the first 8 to 10 weeks.
And if you mentioned fat bags earlier, let's just say Tyrone Tracy may very well be my number 1 drafted player at this point. I've drafted him over 30% of the time because come round 9, come round 10, there ain't a better click on the board.
Yeah, no, I've drafted him crap ton too. He's a top 5 rostered running back for me. Is this my single highest rated player that I have next? Or actually, we'll throw it to you first, and then we'll go back to mine, because I think my next guy is like my 2nd or 3rd highest drafted player, period.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go straight into it. A guy that I'll admit I haven't been drafting much, but I might have to start drafting a little bit. I mean, more specifically, I would say in redraft. I'll talk a little bit in a second as to why he's less of an appealing click in best ball. But Tony Pollard has to be a big winner of the cycle. Obviously, Tajay Spears works clearly after him in the preseason game, and then goes out there and hurts his ankle. High ankle sprain for Tajay Spears, a week-to-week type of injury. And even before he suffered that injury, 79% of the snaps, 67% of the rush attempts, and 75% of the routes for Pollard with that first-team offense. Again, what I kind of alluded to, in redraft, if you want to take Pollard, round 6, I think that's an appropriate price, because I do think you will have an opportunity, especially early on, where if he goes out there week 1, week 2, week 3, gets an immediate workload, you could potentially use him as a consolidation piece. But he's still a guy that I'm not really all that attracted to in best ball, knowing that I can't make a move for him midseason, or move him off my team, midseason.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that you would draft if you drafted Amarian Hampton or RJ Harvey or Treveyon Henderson earlier, so that you can advance the team. Because if those rookies don't get out to hot starts, Pollard would help you make up that point production. Or maybe you took shots on like injured players like Godwin or Rice or Ayuk or Judkins or something. Like, I don't know. Like, Pollard makes some sense as a guy that you use to fill early season production. And again, in redraft, he's going to have more value because you can trade him after the first 3-4 weeks of the season. I would say too, like, Dan Graziano came out and said that, Spears is going to get a big uptick in work. And then everybody ran with that report. But if you actually read what he said in the article, he's like, they saw him as like a 15 to 25% of the opportunities guy. He like literally said that in the article, and people ran with the quote that he's going to get more work, even though he basically said, yeah, he got like no touches last year and they want him to get a little bit of touches this year.
Yeah, so we'll end up seeing what happens. I mean, based off the usage in the first preseason game, I mean, Pollard played all of the first drive. I mean, as you guys can see on that graphic, we saw Tajay Spears drives 2 and 3, but it was all Tony Pollard on that first drive. It's hard to admit right now. Like, I think Tajay Spears comparatively is a even talent, if not even potentially more efficient if he were to get that workload.
He's stay healthy, man. He had injury problems in college too.
Got to stay
healthy last year.
Got to stay healthy. And I mean, at the end of the day, you still got to earn your touches. Like, heck, guess what? You could be Bucky Irving but behind Rachaad White and still not touch the ball until week 8.
Yeah, no, exactly. I have 14% Spears and like 2% Pollard. So it's not good news for me, because I thought Spears could absolutely win this job out. And it looks like at least at the beginning of the season, Spears might just be a handcuff for Tony Pollard, which is kind of what it was last year. And Spears still kind of paid off, because he obviously at the end of the season was when he was valued most, and he ended up, helping a lot of best ball mania teams advance or whatever. But yeah, he might just be a handcuff at this point, unfortunately, but he's still being drafted around handcuffs, so it's not that big of a loss.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, in that range, it's like, yeah, maybe you're drafting him 8 to 10 picks before the true handcuffs, like the Ray Davises, the Trey Bensons. But at the same time, if you're losing 10 picks of comparable value in the 12th or 13th round, that's not going to kill you. What was going to kill you is like maybe you were drafting, insert player who gets hurt for the year in the round 5, round 6 area, and you had 30% of them.
Yeah, that would be Quinshon Judkins, unfortunately for me.
I didn't want to say the name.
Yeah, no, I mean Spears, he could be back in time for the season. We still got like close to a month until the season starts. High ankle sprains, as long as it's like a grade 1 or a grade 2, it probably should be fine. But staying in the AFC South, I have Tyler Warren he's my 4th highest drafted player and by far my highest drafted tight end in fantasy this year. 71% of the routes, 25% target share when Daniel Jones was out there. If you guys watched that game, it was just very clear that Tyler Warren is going to be an integral part of this offense. He is going to be the dude, man. Him and Josh Downs, they're just such easy targets to get the football to. And on top of that, Anthony Richardson, when there was some positive buzz going his way, was like, oh, Richardson's actually starting to play really well in camp, guys. Richardson could start for this team. He like dislocates his finger on like the very first hit that he takes, which is
that was so to me. It was the most Richardson of all Richardson injuries because like, oh yeah, he got sacked, freak accident, he dislocates his finger, but the whole reason he got sacked is because he just missed a free blitzer.
Yeah, no, and he like Richardson, I think Daniel Jones is going to start most of the games this year. I've been of that opinion like literally go back to videos at the beginning of May. I've been saying that this entire time. So I want the pass catchers because I think they're undervalued because of Anthony Richardson's presence. For a tight end climate that has 3 guys that we feel great about, McBride, Bowers, and Kittle. And then there's some other guys like Laporta and Hawkinson and stuff like that. Dude, I have Tyler Warren as my tight end 6 in fantasy this year, dude. Like, I think he legit should be going in like the 7th round, and he goes in the 9th or 10th.
So I've considered doing this. Now, I can't quite do it yet. However, you mentioned you have him as your tight end 6. I also have him as my tight end 6. I have Colson Loveland also as my tight end 5. I've considered moving both of them to 4 and 5 ahead of Laporta. I can't quite do it yet because I think they're all comparable.
Ahead of Hawkinson, still a hot take to me, though.
I do have them ahead of Hawkinson. I think the injury issues, the age issues comparatively, like I would just rather reroll on 2 guys that come week 17, I can be ranking in the same breadth of the Bowers, McBride, Kittle area. Like to me at tight end, it's like you either take one of the top 3 or you swing for upside. And I think Tyler Warren, especially you've been making the case for, and Colson Loveland specifically, are the 2 guys that I want to have all my eggs in on.
Yeah, I get why you would do that in Dynasty, but to me, Hawkinson's not old enough for it to matter to me. He's 2 years removed from the ACL tear, and he's still throws like crazy.
It's not anti-Hawkinson. It's believing in that Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren. What if they are this year's Brock Bowers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're not going to hear me say anything negative about those guys. Hawkinson's just a little bit more of a bird in the hand there for me. I think I trust that he's an elite talent, a top 5 to 6 tight end in the actual league. But yeah, Warren, dude, he's going to get the ball all over the place. He's getting the ball, as I talked about way back in the Dynasty season, he has the highest team investment of any pass catcher on that team. It outweighs Pittman's contract. It outweighs Josh Downs' 3rd round draft capital, A.D. Mitchell's 2nd round draft capital, Alec Pierce's 2nd round draft capital. You take a guy top 15, you're going to use this fucking dude. And I think Tyler Warren legitimately should be going pick 65, and he is not going anywhere near that. He's still in the hundreds by a lot. And in home leagues, round 9, round 10, don't want to draft a tight end until then. That is exactly what I plan on doing.
Yeah, like I have him at 75 right now, but that's just solely because I know I don't have to take him at 65 because like him, Laporta, Loveland, like you could really realistically make the case that all those guys are like fringe top 60 level picks. Like straight up, like receiving projection wise, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they would outproduce like a DJ Moore or outproduce like a Jordan Addison or a Jerry Jeudy or a Calvin Ridley. So at that point, you may as well get it at the position that doesn't have as many guys that are good.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's just an absolute beast, man. So who do you got as your number 5? And then we'll rattle off a couple more honorable mentions and whatnot.
And last quick thing on Tyler Warren. I mean, like Brock Bowers last year, you'll see him get off the practice field. He's balding a little bit. You're like, dude, that guy means business. It's like, you'll see Tyler Warren. I mean, the guy literally looks like a young Greg Olsen. The guy literally looks like a young Jeremy Shockey. It's like, that guy is ready to put that bucket on and go to war.
Oh, yeah. He's an absolute beast, man. Speaking of absolute beasts, you got Bucky Irving as your 5th riser here.
Yeah, and I mentioned him in the Pollard Spears bit, funny enough, but Bucky Irving is just skyrocketing. I mean, it's simple. That's the title of this video for a reason. Rachaad White groin injury news, again, a little bit less serious than we initially thought. It is labeled now as day-to-day. But the last thing that you needed as Rachaad White is for more opportunity for Bucky Irving to cement himself as this team's workhorse. And he already got a full rest day, didn't play. All the ones were out for you guys in that preseason game. Whereas everybody else, like Sean Tucker, Rashad White, like they all got snaps. Bucky Irving, they didn't. And everything we have heard from Bucks camp so far is that you guys want to put even more on his plate, see how much he can handle, really take that step as a full 3-down player. And if Rashad White's going to miss any time, like you give him even a week out of practice, and maybe that's the difference between him being, a 60, 65% opportunity share guy versus a potential 75, 80% guy. Because I'm telling you right now, if he's anywhere close to 75, 80% of the opportunities in an offense that projects so well with Tampa Bay, with a guy that is so efficient on his opportunity, I mean, if he's like Bush, if we knew inherently going into the season that Bucky Irving would touch the ball 275 times, where would he be going in drafts?
I mean, I didn't move him at all because I already had him 20th overall before this. Like I already had him right behind Ladd McConkey and Chase Brown and over Brock Bowers and just ahead of Jonathan Taylor and T. Higgins and Trey McBride too. Like I already had him very highly ranked, so I didn't really do anything. And when I made the change was last week. The Dan Graziano report came out that he's made huge strides in pass protection. They want to use him more as a receiver because that was, to me, that's the key thing. Even if Rashad White is back, which it sounds like the injury is not going to be super severe, even if he's back and playing, if Bucky Irving can carve out half of the third down stuff, half the routes, half the 2-minute drill, half the third down, long down and distance stuff, Bucky Irving's going to absolutely eviscerate his ADP if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it down the stretch. I mean, we saw it even in the wild card game. Like when you guys had your season on the line and you needed one running back out there to handle the majority of the snaps, Bucky Irving was a workhorse.
Yeah. And I again, maybe it's not sustainable to give a 195-pound running back that much work, but honestly, I think they're going to try and do it. And if he holds up to it, and he did in college when he was a workhorse, then he'll be a league winner.
Well, I mean, we just had the same conversation about an undersized back holding up to a full workload, and he just ended up being one of the biggest workhorses in the NFL last year.
Yeah, Kyren, Gibbs, Etienne, they're all kind of proving that it's not necessarily the same old school NFL anymore where you need to be Clinton Portis to hold a full workload.
Yeah, for sure. So Bucky Irving, skyrocketing, a guy that I raised personally as well. I'd be willing to take him at that end portion of your second round. Again, I was a little bit tentative at one point. There was a couple running backs that I liked better. I was a little bit worried about maybe, Rashad White, Sean Tucker potentially earning snaps in this backfield. But like you said, given the reports, given the fact that he doesn't play preseason week 1, I moved him up. He's a clear-cut RB1 in my rankings, and I have him at 23 overall right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. So my last guy is Jalen Coker. I mean, get the coke heads out here because he played with the first team offense after Xavier Legette was throwing hands for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. 25% target share. And again, he's just simply better than Xavier Legette. Like I know Xavier Legette was a first round pick. Like point me in one facet that Xavier Legette has proven to be better than Jalen Coker, because they were actually comparable as prospects. Like, even though one went undrafted and one went in the first round, we did not have that far of grades. And we actually were pro Legette. There was people who were more anti-Legette that probably had it closer. And I know, Steve Smith and some of the other, big coke heads out there were big on Jalen Coker. We know Tyrone McMillan's the wide receiver 1. I think Adam Thielen will probably factor into this receiver core at some point, whether it's overtaking one of these two young guys. But if Coker can pass Legette, there's a very real chance he can be the outside wide receiver 2 for this team. And he showed last year that he can consistently create big plays. He has great hands. Of course, you saw that one-handed catch basically that he made down the field. And it's an offense that you and I both believe in. I think Bryce looked exceptionally good in that game. He looked sharp. He's making quick decisions. He's throwing with anticipation on that goal line play to Tet McMillan. So he's showing the coaching staff why he should be out there. And Canales basically is like, we're going to play the best guys. And Coker's one of our best guys.
So I talked about this on the offensive target with Ron. And we were just talking about how good Bryce Young looked. T-Mac is already looking like Drake London at this point. He's going to be the wide receiver 1. That's not the debate here. But yeah, I mean, if you're Xavier Legette and you have a second-year wide receiver in addition to you that, quite frankly, just outperformed you last year, how are you going to get ejected in the first series of the game, I believe it was? First series or second series, you can correct me there. Jalen Coker was the better wide receiver last year. Yes, I had Xavier Legette ranked higher. Yes, he ended up going a lot higher in the NFL. No. I said I had him ranked higher in the draft. He went higher in the NFL draft, but I think that would be complete take lock if I stood by that. Because at this point, Coker looked better last year. He is doing all the right things right now. And the fact that you already have that quote from Dave Canales saying, yeah, like this guy might have been undrafted last year, but if he's going to keep playing this damn well, there's no reason we got to keep him off the field. If you want to translate what that quote from Dave Canales means is he keeps balling out and this guy keeps knocking people out, we're going to have a serious conversation as to who's actually playing on Sundays.
Yeah, I don't even think, I think it's going to be a foregone conclusion that Coker plays over him until Leggett shows otherwise. Because again, I like Leggett. I'm not completely shutting the door on him because he was raw and he could develop more. But like, just look at the vibes, man. Like you watch Coker play and you're like, how is this guy not a top 2 receiver on this team?
Well, I mean, you just watch him move. Like, he just knows how to run routes at this point. Like, yeah, sure, Xavier Leggett is the height, weight, speed guy. Xavier Leggett with the ball in his hands, like, we're very excited about. I still think Xavier Leggett has utility in the grand scheme of things, especially to usurp Adam Thielen down the stretch of the year. But if you're talking about just the better bet on who could eventually be the 2 behind T-Mac on this team, I think it is Jalen Coker. And the fact that he's currently the cheapest of this bunch should not be the case.
He's literally pick 215 off the board on Underdog.
Insane.
I don't know how he's going that low, man. I have him. I got to look at my exposure to him because I know I have him a shit. I have him fucking 22% of my teams, man. I've drafted him like crazy.
Yeah, I'll see if I have that beat right now. You said what, 22%?
Yeah.
Also, this is the pre-draft concept. If I go to the in-season, so 107 drafts in. Let's see how much Coker is on this. Jalen Coker, boom, boom, boom. 15.9%, $900 in entry fees.
Yeah, he's every time I have like a 7 wide receiver build and I feel like I need to tack on somebody to it, he's just such an easy click for me to do at that point. And in home leagues, he's going to be a 15th round dart throw for you guys who it's like, okay, I got 5 receivers on my team already. I already drafted a bunch of handcuff running backs or whatever. I'll throw a dart at Jalen Coker because I could use another upside swing at wide receiver.
Well, I think that's the best part because a lot of people view these, rounds 11 to 15 area thinking, well, I just got to get slightly worse projections that I know are going to get me points any week. Like that's how people kind of approach the like structuring their bench. To me, I'm like almost the inverse where it's like, I want to draft the guy on my bench who I can eventually see making my starting lineup over somebody that I already have in there. And to me, if Jalen Coker does establish as a wide receiver 2 for potentially a sneaky top 15, top 18 level offense, if Bryce continues to take the step he has, I'm all over it. And on top of that, I mean, like he would be the wide receiver 2 still. Again, T-Mac, I believe is going to be a number 1 wide receiver. That's not the issue, but it's a lot better being the wide receiver 2 behind a rookie than it is behind, an established 170 target player.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think like the best median projection, maybe not the floor, but like a good median projection for Jalen Coker this year is what Rashad Bateman did last year, which is like 750 yards, 9 touchdowns, make some big plays. And that's going to play in best ball, of course. Like, and
even
he'll
Jalen
be
McMillan last year
throughout the year and redraft too.
Well, even Jalen McMillan last year, let's just say like you'll know when not to start him, but when you do know when to start him, he's going to be a big impact in your lineup. Like Jalen McMillan last year, when you weren't starting him, like he wasn't even close to consideration for your lineup. But guess what? When you knew that you could start him, he was delivering every single week.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple honorable mentions we have. I've not been high on this player, but Marvin Mims did play the snaps with the first team. And that has been the biggest issue of his entire career so far. It has not been getting targeted when he's on the field. It has not been making big plays when he's on the field. It's been getting reps and routes and snaps and targets. Like that has been his issue. So the fact that he was, after Cortland Sutton, the number 2 receiver in terms of snaps, targets, and all that kind of stuff, that is great news because it's a open competition there. It was Marvin Mims versus Pat Bryant versus Troy Franklin versus Devon Vele, whoever can kind of come out on top and win that number 2 job. And if it is Mims, we have evidence to say that this guy's been efficient with his targets.
He has. However, I do think a lot of his production was on manufactured looks. So I am very curious how he's going to handle a full route tree, how he's going to handle full duties with more snaps, because people are just going to look at the target per route run, the yards per route run efficiency without acknowledging like when he was on the field, it was a design touch to create a ton of separation for him.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to be an excellent player or anything,
He's
but
definitely
like
a win still.
13th round of your redraft league, if you have a deep wide, like a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex type of redraft PPR league or whatever, I don't think he's a bad shot at that point in the draft.
Yeah, again, I would need him a little bit cheaper. I just like a couple other options, but he's definitely a winner based off the usage because there was a real possibility that he played 20%.
He could have been the wide receiver 4 in snaps.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, what if he ran 20% of the routes with the first team and like Valet and Bryant and
that's kind of what I expected to happen, to be honest.
Yeah. So definitely kudos for him. My 2 honorable mentions, similar theme here. Torrey Horton, very interesting. Apparently, he's been taking all the first team reps recently with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, Sam Darnold there with Seattle. And with those two out, he played all the snaps with the first team. He caught a touchdown. He looked good. He's an archetype of wide receiver that can very much hit at a high level if he's afforded the opportunity. Like Cooper Kupp, we've already cited that he's kind of fallen off as a player. He's already dealt with, hamstring injuries, lower body injuries. It's like, why can't they just run back JSN and DK Metcalf with Torrey Horton in the DK Metcalf role for this Cliff Kingsbury offense? And I've actually made this comp before, but stylistically, could you at all see, Torrey Horton versus Rashid Shaheed, kind of what he represented for the Saints with Kubiak last year kind of vibes? Like I can see JSN being the Olave and Rashid Shaheed kind of being that Torrey Horton if Cooper Kupp missed any time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Horton looks good, and he was a good player, man. Like in college, but I had him a top 11 receiver in the class or whatever. I think he fell for medical concerns because he had some knee issues this final 2 years at Colorado State. But yeah, I think he's earned a role for sure.
Yeah, and then the other honorable mention I want to make is Theo Johnson, 71% of the routes with the first team. He looked involved. He looked efficient. I've already talked about, the height, weight, speed he represents. One of the freakiest athletes in the NFL. So if you're getting potentially 80+% of the routes and the opportunity to be the number 2 target on this Giants team for an offense that, again, we got a little bit more security now in the quarterback position because if Russ struggles, we see Jackson Dart make some good plays in that preseason game. It's just overall the vibes of this offense, I think, have tended to go up. And now we know for certain that Theo is going to be the starting tight end.
Yeah, and Rondé Gadsden split the starting Chargers tight end reps too in his first preseason game as a 5th-round rookie. So that was definitely encouraging to see. We'll see what happens in preseason week 2 for him, because if he can overtake Tyler Conklin or whatever, that would definitely be huge for his fantasy output. But yeah, that was 10 players skyrocketing up our rankings. As always, if you guys want our rankings, if you want our draft guide, check out the season pass. You can get our draft guide plus the draft guide of all the other creators in the Flock League, all very different, all very helpful in their own ways. Ours more the spreadsheet stuff. Land guys, very graphical, superlatives, sleepers, breakouts, that kind of stuff. And then the land guys, or the domain guys, sorry, they have the, positional help. Like, hey, I'm picking 6th in my ESPN league. What strategy should I employ? Very good stuff there. And then, of course, Mason doing the Baron bull cases for a lot of stuff there. So check out that stuff. Season Pass is definitely the greatest product we've ever created on the site. And of course, you'll have site access from August all the way through January. So you have rest of season rankings, weekly rankings once we get into the season, in addition to the draft guide stuff. And you'll also get those vouchers for start set questions, trade questions, and all that good stuff too. So, we made reference to Underdog. If you guys want to draft some teams right now, $2 million up top for Best Ball Mania 6. And we're still on the road to chasing it. I still got, 58 bullets left in the chamber after my trip from Chicago. So I'm pretty excited about it. And of course, use promo code FSE for up to $1,000 in bonus funds, and then a gimme pick as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned you're about 58 off. I'm about 50 off from maxing Best Ball Mania 6. And who knows, maybe 2 of your favorite creators, one of us can take it down.
Yeah, that would be. I just want a team to the finals, man. We had the sweat last year with Spicy's team, but I haven't had a team in the finals yet on my own account. And based on historical averages, it just should be about this year that I get one in.
And for me, I had one 2 years ago, and last year I was literally 2 Josh Jacobs carries away from having another year. So that was unfortunate. If you remember, I'm sure a lot of you guys were probably in your, fantasy football semifinals where Josh Jacobs just completely sits basically for the whole entire second half against the Saints.
Yeah, no, that was unfortunate. The Saints, of course, had to be as big of a dumpster fire as humanly possible and ruin everything as they always do. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you guys enjoyed. Check out yesterday's video, the #1 draft strategy, and we will have you covered for rankings for the rest of the week. Tier list stuff. We'll be in Texas doing the Flock League stuff, so that'll be a ton of fun. But with that being said, peace out. We'll talk to you soon.